What's going on, you guys? Paul here with Paul's Performance, and in today's video this is part 2 of our ceramic coating series. So as you can see, we have the car inside my shop here. It's been sitting overnight drying. After yesterday, in part 1 we washed, decontaminated the paint, got it nice and squeaky clean, got rid of all our waxes, and we got it dried, and we pulled it in here and I let it sit overnight just to finish drying because I have plenty of time to do this. I didn't need to do it all in one day. So today we're going to be working on the paint correction, which will be buffing any scratches out, getting all the swirls gone, and getting the paint in the absolute best looking state before we put the ceramic coating on. Because once you put the ceramic coating on, whatever your paint looks like, that's how it's going to look like until that ceramic coating's gone. And this stuff, it does good. So you definitely don't want to put it over top of any scratches or just dull paint. So we're going to get the paint corrected today. I'm going to show you guys what all I'm going to be working with and what I'm going to be testing, show you what I'm going to be doing on the paint. Each car is going to be different as far as paint correction. Some cars may only require a one stage, which would be, you know, a single pad and a single one stage just kind of in between polish slash cut, whereas other cars may require a heavy cut, and then after a heavy cut you're going to have to polish that back to a shine, because you may have a lot of deep scratches, or the paint just may be really far gone. I don't think we're going to need that on this car. This car, the paint's in pretty good shape, so I believe I'm probably going to be a one stage on most of the panels. There are a couple panels though that have a couple little light scratches in it that I may have to do a two stage, but I have a small polisher that I'm probably going to take care of those with. That way I don't have to use a giant polisher to mess with that. So we're gonna get over here to the table. I'm gonna show you what we're working with, and then we're gonna get into first person mode. That way you guys can do it while I do it and see exactly what's going through my mind as I'm going through the paint correction. I know this video might be just as long as the first one, but I figured it might help for you guys who have never done this, because I know a lot of people will say like, oh yeah, we'll just buff this out using either a yellow or pad or a white pad. And to me, I know what that means. But to you guys out there who have never detailed or never polished anything, and you're just trying to do it this one time, you probably won't know what that means. So I know there's a lot of videos out there who show you how to do stuff. It's kind of varying. So I figured this video, if I show you what goes through my head and exactly how I'm doing it, it'll help you guys to be that are more of a visual learner. I know I like to see stuff done rather than just hearing it or somebody saying, hey, well, just go polish the paint. I'd much rather see it done so that I know exactly what to do. So we're gonna get in first person mode, just like the other video, and I'm gonna show you guys what's going on. So let's get over here to the table. Hey guys, so we're over here at the work table, and I'm gonna go through some of the stuff I'm gonna be using today. So we have our cleaning tool, our pad cleaning tool here, and then I have two of the Rupes micro polishers, long and short neck. Each one has a different size backing plate on it at the moment. This one is actually got a random orbital, and this one has a rotary. I use these for small areas that you can't really get the big polisher in, or if you're just doing something quick like a scratch on your hood or something. That's what I'd use these for. People who said, hey, I got a scratch, can you get this out? That's all I want. You know, I'd pull up with this and get it out without breaking out the big guns. Then we have my two polishers here. I have my cordless, which is a DeWalt, and then I have my corded, which is the Rupes. Nothing wrong with the DeWalt. It does excellent. Highly recommend it. The Rupes though, this is like, I mean, this is the Ferrari of polishers here. It's smooth. It doesn't wear out your hand as fast as other polishers. It cuts faster. I mean, it's just better. I mean, I don't know how else to explain it. No, it's not worth it to the regular Joe, but if you're a detailer and you can afford one of these, I highly recommend it. And I'm sure if you watch anyone else's videos, they'll say the exact same thing.
So, but I do like having the cordless one, so that's why I picked up the DeWalt without having to run the cord at the time. So both of these, or you can just go get one from Harbor Freight. If you're doing this for one time, I highly recommend going and getting one from like Harbor Freight or Amazon. They'll do just fine. This is just a more professional setup that I had because I did have a detailing business. So let's move over to our polishes here. So I have two microfibers here, which are the Rupes brand. We have the polishing microfiber and we have the heavy cut microfiber. I also have a Rupes white pad here. It's not as white as it used to be, but she's got some miles on her now. But this is more of a very light cut to polish pad. And then I have this, which is a Chemical Guys brand. This is a heavier cut pad, but you could also use this as maybe a one stage on your paint, because this is not the roughest pad you can get for like a actual foam pad. They make a lot heavier cut pads. I can show you one here in a minute. Then I have my DA coarse Rupes brand heavy cut, which actually goes with this microfiber. I don't have the yellow one though. I also have our Sunax Perfect Finish, which is a perfect cut polish for if you're just wanting to do one step. So I'm hoping I'm gonna be able to use this and I won't have to do any 2 or 3 steps anywhere. This is what I'm hoping I'm gonna be able to use. And then over here, I have my 3M Perfected line, which is 1, 2, 3. We have heavy rubbing compound polish, and then, you know, super fine polish. This works really well, but like I said, it is 3-step. Sometimes, I mean, you can skip around, you can just do 1 or 2. But that all of this works good, but we're not sure what we're going to have to do yet until we get on the car, figure out how the clear coat reacts, how easy it cuts, whether or not it's going to do this, or if it's a really hard paint, I may end up having to do a 2-step where I take a rougher cut and then come in with a polish. So we'll see once we get on the car. Let me show you guys our heavier cut pad. So this right here is a Rupes brand. This is a heavy coarse pad, and I mean, it almost feels like a, I'm sure you guys have one, but if you have a, whatchamacallit, a Scrub Daddy, that's what this blue feels like. And the yellow here, that it's stiff, but it still feels, you know, foamy. And once you get some fluid on it, some compound or something, you could use it as a 1-step, because it does cut pretty good, but it doesn't cut heavy, and it also will leave a nice finish. But this blue right here it's there. It's not here for a good time. I mean, it's here to get rid of some scratches. I don't really like using this though, because to be honest, microfibers cut much better, and they feel better. This just feels like it scratches the paint. I know it doesn't. I've used it, but microfibers work much better, so I don't really use these that much. All right, guys, so we're over here at the car, and there's another thing that I really like to do with before I start buffing on any car, is to figure out how much paint is on the car. This is a factory finish. I've never worked on a Tesla, but different brand vehicles usually have a different thickness of paint, so I like to use my paint gauge. I know not everybody has one of these. I got this one on Amazon. It's not too expensive. It works pretty good, but when I'm working on someone else's car and I don't know how thick the paint is, especially if it's an older car, it's been repainted or repaired, you definitely don't want to start buffing on it and it have like very little clear coat on it. So what I like to do before I start is take a couple measurements on the car. So we got 4.9 right there, 4.88 there, 5.2 there, and I'm gonna check it at different points across the car, just random points. 5.7. Check the hood. So it looks like we got between like a high 4 to a probably about 4 to 5 range. That's a little thick. So then what we're gonna do is I like to open the car, and on most vehicles, when they paint them, they paint the outside and they clear coat the outside pretty well. But in your door jambs, they don't get as much clear coat. So I like to check the door jambs. I'm not sure how Tesla does, but this is how most vehicles are. Or under the hood, they'll usually spray the color, but they won't put clear coat on it. So you can measure the all right, so it looks like I have about 2.8 on the inner door jamb. So what that tells me is the rest of the car has about 5. On the outside of the car, I have measurements of like 4.9 to well above 5 mil. And the door jamb has, 2.8, roughly about 2.8. So that's telling me that I should have plenty of clear coat on the outside. Now, if you were measuring, if your outside measurement was 2.8 and you went in and measured your door jamb and it was 2.8, that would be a little sketchy for me. I would be like, okay, why is there not a difference? Because this is pretty much telling me that there's at least 2 mil of clear coat on the car. And when you cut and buff, depending on how much you cut, you're going to take off some of that clear coat. You're not going to take off 2 mil, but you may take off, depending on how hard you cut or how hard you have to cut, you will take off some. So you don't want it to be close. My safe spot is at least 1 mil. I like to be at least 1 mil of clear. And like I said, this is plenty. So that's just something I like to do. You guys don't have to. If you have a new car, I wouldn't worry about it too much. This is more of like a repainted car or a car that has, is older. And then you also have to look out for cars that don't have clear coat, because some of them have one stage paint, which when you start polishing, you'll see the color start coming onto your pads, and either you have a one stage or you've cut through the clear coat. So that'll be one thing, but like I said, I just like to check. So I'm not sure if you guys can see, but I have my light here on the trunk because I'm going to start right here on the trunk. It's nice and level to me, a good spot for me to start and be comfortable. But if you might can see how the light's reflecting and it's really swirled up. So we're going to get rid of all that. So if you can see that, I'm pretty sure you can. I'll check the video, obviously, when I edit. But if you can see that, we'll come back after I'm done polishing just to see the difference. But I'm pretty sure you guys can see the swirls that are all inside that paint. So let's get the polisher out and figure out what we're going to have to do to get rid of that. All right, guys, so we got our polisher here, and I'm going to start off with just my yellow pad and my one-step Sonax Perfect Finish. And so what I'm going to do is clean off that tip. Shake your bottle up, and we're going to put some dabs on it. This first run, I like to get it spread out because the pad's clean. It doesn't have anything on it. This is a little overkill, but we're going to get that on. And what we're going to do is I usually like to take a piece of painter's tape and put like a divider down. That way I can polish on this side and compare between what the car was like and what this looks like, just to tell whether or not. But I'm just going to make an invisible line. I don't have any tape with me. And we're going to polish right here and wipe and see if we got rid of the scratches with just this and how good it looks. If it looks good, then we might do this on the whole car. If it doesn't get out the scratches, then we're going to go to a two-step. So once you have this on here, probably a little less. I put a little bit much on there. So I'm gonna take it and I'm gonna press it down. You don't want to start polishing, you will sling it everywhere. So I just like to spread out. And then we're gonna start, I'm gonna turn it down to 1. And I like to go real slow and just spread it out a little bit. And this is just helping to spread it out and that way it doesn't sling as bad. So once we do that, I'm gonna turn it up to about 5. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna start our polishing in this little area. So I'll turn her up, and we're gonna move. So you wanna cross over about 50% of your previous run. So if you see what I'm talking about, so when you run like this, when you come down to do the next row, you don't want to come down past that one. You want to come down 50% and go back over the previous one at half of it. So 50% of the previous run. And you just do that all the way down. And then once you get down, I like to go the opposite way. So you don't want to be swirling around. You want to go straight over, straight back, straight over, straight back. And then once you get here, you can go up, down, up, down, up, down, and then you can wipe and see what it looks like. So let's get this done. You can watch me do it, and then we'll see what it looks like. And the speed is, it just depends on how bad the scratching is. That's something you'll just have to work on. I like to go slow and then run like maybe a little bit quicker, but slower, giving it time to work, but you don't want to hold it in one spot and then move. You definitely want to keep moving. This is a lot better than a rotary. Rotaries, you do need to keep moving because you could burn through the paint. That's why I highly recommend a random whortle. But speed, just kind of keep a consistent speed, letting the pad work, but also keeping it moving. So we got that down. We're gonna wipe this off and see what it looks like. We got this section wiped down, and it does look much better. I'm not sure how good you guys can see. There's a lot of squirrel and scratches on this side, and there is a lot less, but if you look at it in a certain light with my light here, you can still see faintly some of the swirls. So I think I'm gonna have to move up. I could possibly go a little bit slower with the polisher, but I think I'm gonna have to move into a heavier cut and compound, and probably the microfiber first, just to really wipe out all these swirls. And then come back in with a polish on top, because it looks like this one's a little bit, it's going to take a little bit more cutting to get these swirls out than I thought. So we're going to move on to a heavier cut. So we got our heavy Rupes microfiber cutting pad here, and we have our coarse cutting compound also from Rupes. And so now we're gonna get this put onto the pad, and a little bit different with a foam pad. You can usually do like 4 dots, pat it on there and rub it in. With a microfiber, you kind of need to get it saturated around the microfiber. So kind of the same, but I like to take my finger and kind of rub it in to spread it out a little bit. That way it kind of smells like cinnamon. But you want to get the whole pad saturated, because it being microfiber, it'll kind of soak it in. And so you don't want to have these dry spot either. So you kind of want to get it rubbed in on your first trying to get it to where it's got a good amount of coating on it. And then you won't have to do this anymore. But especially with this pad, it's brand new, so it's going to soak it in. So we're going to get this kind of rubbed in, and then we're going to put it on the car. All right, so we got that kind of rubbed in a little bit there, and then what we're going to do is the same kind of thing. We're going to help to spread her out a little bit. I'm gonna turn her down to 1. spread it out a bit more evenly, my bad. And then we'll turn her up to 5 or 6. I'm gonna go to 6 this time, so. And we're gonna do the exact same thing as the other one, 50-50. Adjust your speed accordingly. You see about how fast I'm running. If you still have scratches, you might can go a little bit slower. So just don't stay in one spot. Keep it moving, but just adjust your speed there. That's kind of relative depending on the paint. Once you do it a little bit, you'll figure it out. So let's get this done and we'll be back. Alrighty guys, so after doing that, it's cut out most of our swirl scratches. And if you kind of run down, put some light on it, and you run your face down, you'll look at the side you haven't done, and as soon as you get to that, you'll see it kind of vanish and you'll get a more deep color. I mean, it just makes it look so much better once you have it polished compared to a section where you have all these swirls and it's kind of reflecting awkwardly. This one just has like a deep reflection to it, so you can kind of run down. I'm not sure how good you can see it, but it'll look much better. So we're going to do that. We're going to cut the entire trunk with the microfiber, and then we're going to come back over it with a polish, and we're just going to go panel by panel. Now that I have the setup I'm going to use that on the whole car. Unless I get a scratch, I might do something a little heavier, but most likely with being it has a heavy cut pad, I'm gonna get the scratches out. Any scratches that are possible to remove, I'm gonna get those out. If I was doing a 1-step, I would have to use a 2-step to get the scratches out, but now that I'm doing a 2-step anyways, I'll probably do that on the entire car. So we're gonna go through and we're gonna do this on the entire car, and once I'm done with that, I would say go panel by panel. That's the best way to keep up with it. Like I said, section off your panel, do that panel, move on to the next until you get the entire car. And then, like I said, once you get the entire car done, as you do panel, I'm gonna do cut and polish on that panel, and then I'm gonna move to the next one. That way this panel's done. And then once we finish the entire car, it'll be ready for the ceramic coating prep. So we've gotten most of the car polished. Right now we're working on the glass here. And the glass on this car is fairly clean. It does have some water spots in it. And I'm gonna be putting the coating on the glass because the coating I got says it's good to go on glass also, as well as the paint. So we're gonna put it on the glass also to prevent hard water spots from getting on the glass. And because the roof of the Tesla, the entire roof is glass, so being that there's so much glass, I do want to protect it and make it a lot easier to clean. So I'm going to show you guys what I'm doing for polishing glass. Glass is a lot harder. It really depends on how dirty your glass is. But what I have here is my Rupes, and I have a hard cutting microfiber here. This is another one, not the one I used on the car that I have. And I'm using the rubbing compound, the step 1, and that's it. When I had my detailing van and I had really hard water spots, I used to take this, and I mean, I could put it on like a towel, or I could put it on a hand applicator and I could rub it onto the glass, and this right here would actually remove hard water spots. There's a couple different, there's different ways you can get hard water spots out, but this right here was something I already had on the van, and like I said, I could rub it in with just anything. I could polish it in, or I could even do it by hand, and it would take away the water spots on the glass, which was a big thing for a lot of people. So I'm just putting this on there and polishing it. I'm not doing anything else because this right here makes the glass look really good, and glass is really, really hard, obviously, so it's not going to dull it up by just doing this one step. If you want to polish it afterwards, by all means, go ahead, but I'm just doing this one step. So I'm going to show you guys what I'm doing. Let's go over here to the car. So I've already done this side of the car, and I'm going over here to this one. And like I said, it's not very bad. I mean, this has some stuff on it, some light water spots. But basically what I'm doing is the same thing. You know, we're applying some little dots here, and then I am taking it and we're spreading it. I like to pat it onto the surface, same as the paint, no different. Pat it out like so. And then before I go wide open, I like to spread it out a little bit. So I'd go on slow speed and just kind of spread it out. And as you can see, now it's nice and spread out. It doesn't have a lot of looseness in it. That way when I go wide open, I don't just sling, you know, compound everywhere. And this is the same as on the car. There's no difference. And then I do the exact same procedure as I would on the car. I do the polish both ways and then wipe it off, and then you're done. Like I said, for people who have worse glass, they may have to do it a little bit longer than usual. It just depends on the vehicle. So for this one right here, it's just the same as the paint, not in bad shape, and I don't have to do that much to it. And I'm putting the coating on, so I want the glass, I want all the water spots to be gone, because I don't want to lock the water spots in underneath the coating. And like I said, once you put this coating on, the water spots, they're a lot harder to, you know, they can't get locked into your paint or your glass because the coating is protecting that. And usually you won't get water spots. It'll give you a water spot resistance. So that's why I'm gonna do it on the glass also. And I made sure I got a coating that said it was good for glass, because not every ceramic coating says that it is, it's good for glass. And the one thing I will say, which I'll talk more about it once we get into the video, is with your windshield, you're gonna have to be very careful. I would test it out on all your other glass first, just to see and make sure that it's gonna be okay before you put it on your windshield, because you don't wanna put it on your windshield and then your windshield is foggy or you can't see out of it. So I would definitely do your other windows first, see how it looks, especially with a new product, just to make sure before you go on your windshield. So we're gonna get the windows polished, and then we're gonna come back and we're gonna finish up the paint correction stage. So, all right guys, so we got the glass finished up. We got the whole car ran over with the polisher. I got it looking about how I want it. It's not perfect, but it's also not going to Pebble Beach. So I didn't really feel like doing a whole 3-step, get everything out. I just wanted to get out, you know, about 80%, which is usually what a 1 or 2 step can get for you of swirls, because this is a daily kind of car. So I just wanted it to look really good, but it ain't got to be perfect. Depending on what you're for, if this is your show car, you might want to do a 3-stage and go ahead and, I mean, you can even get as deep as wet sanding it beforehand if you really want to get it perfect. But for this car, it's a daily. So I got it looking about how I want it. I got the glass clean. But now I need to go around the whole car, and I just got 2 fresh microfibers here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around the car and I'm going to wipe up everything a second time, just to get off any of this dust that produces during polishing, any spots that I may have missed. And then once we get all that off, we're going to move on to the ceramic coating prep. But I don't want to, I just want to take an extra step, which would be me going around and getting off any dust and any spots I may have missed during the polishing. So we're going to go through, wipe the entire car down a second, third time, however many times it takes, and then we'll move on to the final step before we get into ceramic. So now another reason I like to do this after I'm done polishing everything is obviously you'll sling compound in other areas as you're polishing an area nearby. So I like to get that dust off as much as possible, because when I go to use the prep spray, I don't want to, you know, gunk up everything. with the prep spray. I'd much rather have it as clean as possible before the prep spray goes on. That way the prep spray gets it super clean. I don't want to be spraying the prep spray over top of compound dust and possibly smearing the compound around and then it being on the paint still. So the more times you prep before this, the better. So that's why I always run just 2 new ones and try to wipe off all the excess compound I may have missed and the dust, just because while you're polishing the window, you're probably slinging stuff onto the hood. So wipe the whole car down and then we'll move on. Right, so after we've done a wipe down of the car, we'll just call that kind of our dusting stage, because I mean, that's what you'll see, a lot of this compound sling and dust that was slung over the car. That's what you're trying to get rid of. So once you got rid of most of that, now we can start preparation for our ceramic coating. So what we are going to do, let's get rid of that, is we're going to come over here. So you can buy this. This is a prep spray, oil and grease remover. This is a ceramic coating prep spray. You can get it from many different companies. There's a local detailing shop. They had this. You can also get this exact brand on Amazon. It's the G-Ion. It's basically an alcohol kind of prep spray. It has like alcohol in it and some other stuff that help to make sure there is no oil or grease left on the paint. So this will be the final step before you install your ceramic coating. So we have that put into our bottle here, and we're going to get us some clean spray. We're going to get us some clean microfibers, and we're going to do this prep right here. So we're going to actually finish this video, and we will continue this in part 3 of the ceramic coating install. So let's finish her up. All right, guys, so we got our paint corrections step done. All of our windows, all of the paint is now prepped for the ceramic coating. So all we have left to do is the ceramic coating itself, which will involve the pre-prep spray, which I like to do right before we're putting the ceramic coating on. You could do a pre-prep spray right after you finished up your polishing and your final wipe down, but I would also do one right before you're putting the ceramic coating on, because I wouldn't do it and then leave it sitting overnight, because it could get something on it. So you want to keep your dust and everything gone. So we're going to do the prep spray, and then we're going to go through the steps of installing the ceramic coating and finishing it up, and then we'll have a top coat to go over top of the ceramic coating that comes with the kit that we'll also be installing. So see you guys in the final part 3 video. As always, appreciate you guys watching. See you in the next one, and like and subscribe.